yeah, I like this as a short, but I don't know when that's going to be. I mean, Mary, is this like the theme we're getting? We heard something very similar with the shorting German bunds.
It does seem to be a theme, and he is kind of known for these broad pronouncements that are not necessarily tied to timing or specifics, or you have this big idea and then he trades around it. But there is sometimes a disconnect between like these big ideas. The same is true also in Jeffrey Gundlach's rhetoric. Sometimes you have a Chipotle short, and it doesn't necessarily translate in their holdings. But with this one, he's maybe going to look into actually shorting the stocks when he thinks the time is right. Question mark as to when that is.
Is he right, Mike?
Well, the not just yet is interesting. I'd love to get him on the phone and clear that up because
we're trying.
I figured we were. He could mean he thinks they're going to go even higher, so it's not quite the time to short. But also, it's very difficult to short that market right now. But it is about to get a lot easier, and not to get into too much of the details, but basically, the mainland Chinese exchanges have a link with the Hong Kong exchange. That's new. The Shanghai Composite, which is the big index in China, is already linked to Hong Kong. Shenzhen, which is the sort of smaller cap, tech-heavy index that he's talking about, they will link with China later this year, and once that link is established, it'll be a lot easier to short.
You can literally borrow shares and short it.
Yeah, not quite as freely as you can in this country. There's a limit on how much you can borrow. They don't want foreign investors borrowing and shorting, with abandon. So that they're limited on how much they can short. So technically, you'll be able to short, but not really go in full blast shorting.
Like you could here. Right. Mary, why does Bill Gross tend to go more public with these things? Like you said, the thesis can be good, the timing can be off, and then we all in the media talk about how the timing was off, and it's kind of like a bad word of mouth in that way. Why?
I think that he does feed on this kind of noise, right? He likes being famous. He likes being the center of attention. And without the influence of all of the billions and billions and millions of dollars that he managed at PIMCO, I think some of that might be lacking. And so he still carries this great weight in the markets where people, retweet the tweet, they click on the story, they email the story around, and people care. They care what he thinks because he's still a legendary bond investor. It's just that there's kind of a different paradigm of what he's investing.
What's interesting about the timing of this is we're just days before the MSCI is going to approve whether or not they're going to include Chinese stocks in its emerging market index. Vanguard is going to be buying Chinese stocks. Larry Fink came out from BlackRock yesterday and said, I think the government's doing a good job, more positive on Chinese stocks. Right. It's very counterintuitive in essence.
Well, for sure, Bill Gross is not the only one who thinks we should be shorting Chinese stocks. The problem is, obviously, you look at the Shenzhen index with a PE of 75. So it looks like a bubble to a lot of people, but the problem with bubbles is you never know. This could be just the beginning of a bubble. It could go to 100 or 200 PE. So, it's difficult to really nail it. A lot of people, everything I've read seems to suggest people think that this rally in China stocks will end when the government wants it to end, basically.
Right.
And they've already done some stuff to slow it down. So
good stuff, guys. Thank you.